Welcome back to the Skids and Giggles podcast. I am Pascal. I'm joined by my co-host Bryson. How's it going today, buddy?
Oh, it's great, Pascal. How do you do, Skigglers? Back for another one.
Well, I've spent quite a bit of time with our guest Jarno Hoogland during Transmadeira. Long transfers, a lot of rain, but plenty of time to chat. I don't want to give too much away, but Bryson, what were your highlights?
Basically the feeling is, I'm inspired by our conversation with Jarno. It's good to know that there's some good people out there caring about the environment, caring about our sport, and yeah, I'm really happy to have him presented on the podcast.
All right. Yes, today's conversation, we covered a lot of ground. We talked about his work for the IMB, the International Mountain Bike Magazine. We talked about his new venture, the Trail Taxi. We talked about his move to Switzerland, his love for the Valais region, and a lot of other things. But before we get into that, let's just say a few words about where you guys can find more information about the Skids and Giggles podcast. We're currently most active on our Instagram, and you can skid right into our DMs and follow along at Skids and Giggles. And you can find our website with all the relevant links and info under the URL skidsandgiggles.com. Also, if you guys like what we're doing and want to know what's up, just give us a follow on Spotify. Hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to great podcasts. Finally, sharing episodes you enjoy with your riding buddies really helps us grow our show and reach more cool people like you. With that all out of the way, let's get back to Jarno. We really hope you enjoyed this one as much as we liked recording it. Talk to you after the show. Tonight we sit down with Jarno Hoogland. Jarno, welcome to the Skids and Giggles podcast. How is it going tonight?
Good evening. It's good. Fantastic. We had a good weekend of riding bikes and we went for camping actually with the camper van last night. So fully relaxed and ready to do this podcast thing.
Awesome. Bryson, how are you doing?
Swell. Also managed to get a bike ride in. How about you, Pascal?
Well, big weekend of riding. Obviously, I've been a couple of weeks out from falling off or dislocating my shoulder and then falling off in Transmadeira. We'll get back to that later. But things are on the up and up. So I've managed to get 2 rides in. Spent the whole day in the bike park yesterday with the kids. So all good. Speaking of Transmadeira, the last time Jarno and I spoke extensively was on day 1 of Transmadeira, and we were going up a terrible climb in the pissing rain, pardon my French. So we thought it was worthwhile to have another chat, maybe with Bryson tagging along for that as well. So Jarno, how has it been going since then? How did Transmadeira end for you?
Oh, a bit better than for you, although that's not it's not very difficult dislocating your shoulder. No, it was great. Weather dried out a bit. Finally picked up a bit of speed on those timed stages as well on the final day actually. And yeah, had an amazing time. Everything that everybody says about the island is true. Superb riding, great food, great people. And it was sad to see you on what was it, end of day 2, heading off to that hotel. But leave something for you for next time when you go.
Exactly, that's the plan anyway. So I just need to convince my better half. All right. Well, I to get this conversation going, I want to paint the picture, set the stage a little bit. Talk about you. We talk about your work. So we have. If I look at your resume right now, I look at the IMB, so Mountain Bike Magazine. I look at Trail Taxi, a new venture that's coming up. I look at a Dutch guy living in Switzerland. Mountain biking brings all of this together. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you got here? How does this all happen? Maybe start with, how do you even get to the IMB?
Well, IMB has been. I've been the editor of the online mountain bike magazine for the past 2 years. I have done that basically on the same period when I moved to Switzerland. I've always been in the Alps for quite a good number of years. Holland is a fantastic country, but not if you like mountain biking. So quite early on, I already moved away. I spent a couple of years in Austria. Moved to Switzerland, actually to the Geneva region for a good couple of years. And yeah, ever since an early age, I've been involved in either BMX racing or mountain bike racing. So I raced BMX from 85 till 95. And then in the good old year of 1996, I tried my best of luck as a downhill rider, which, amongst all the cross country guys with my BMX background, it was quite easy to snatch some podiums. And then when careers come along, you got two options: either just to work a proper job and earn enough money to buy all your kit, or you dive into the industry and you get your work related to the industry and get some discounts along the way. So I chose the path number two. The classic bike shops, then to working for a distributor. Worked for Kona Bicycles for a couple of years as their warranty and customer service manager guy. And then, once you're in the hold of the bike industry, the stranglehold, you won't get, they won't let you go. Eventually I found myself having a chat with Rue, the owner of Next Elements, who's the publisher of I Am Bike Mag. And I was like, oh, this is great. I can create a magazine. The place where we create the magazine doesn't matter so much. So why not just move to Single Track Paradise, the Valais, Switzerland? And so said, so done.
Oh, nice.
That's the story in a nutshell.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about IMB, because I think it's quite unique in the media landscape. So can you describe a little bit how the magazine works and what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so IMB is a free magazine. It's free to read, free to subscribe, and we even do a prize draw amongst our subscribers every 2 months. Just subscribe. Your name goes in a hat, and we hand out a W2B set of tires and tubeless setup, or a pump, or something cool. And it's online only. So we've got the website, which obviously posts all the news that we share with our readers. All of that stuff is linked to Facebook as well. So we got a pretty big Facebook page where you can see the news articles. And then there is the magazine itself, which is a full-fledged magazine with 3-4 big features, interviews. Last month we did a big interview with Nico Vink. We had a cool story about this dude from Revelstoke who basically got an old Mustang, and he raised the suspension, put huge wheels on it, and turned the whole thing into this crazy off-road Mustang, the Mudstang mobile. We try to mix things up. We do a bunch of product testing, of course, and then we've got some regulars like a technique section. We've got a thing called Getting Dialed, where we just really, take a good look on what would the best things be to put in your first aid kit, or what's the best way to get traction, or stuff like that. And that you can read on the website, of course. But there's also a free iOS and an Android app that you can download, and you can kind of scroll through it in a more easy to read PDF style application.
Oh, sweet. And when I hear online, then of course there's like two types of online magazines, right? So there's obviously the ones that take a traditional pen and paper kind of magazine, let's say, and just make that into a PDF and upload it somewhere on a server, and then tell people to go there and read it. And then there's the other ones that obviously make use of digital media, interoperability of like different content formats. So let's say simple things, embedding a live video in a PDF or in a scrolling feed, etc. How are you using those technologies in your magazine?
Well, of course, video is one whole production thing by itself that we would love to incorporate more. But if you've ever made video, you know how incredible amounts of time, effort, equipment video actually takes. So for the moment, we just offer our advertisers to incorporate video in their ads, which makes the ads a lot cooler, especially with the cool edits that are coming out these days. So the ad doesn't feel like an ad, it's more of an entertainment side of things. Then our technique series are also linked, so you can read the technique article written, or you can click and then watch the video, which is shared on the YouTube platform. There are plans to expand video towards bike tests and product tests, and maybe even for some of the features that we are, like the travel features, the trail guides. But at the moment, the biking landscape is a bit of a funny one in the bike industry, with lots of brands being sold out, delivery times being absolutely crazy. So for us to now just jump in and heavily invest in a video branch is just not the moment.
Okay.
But it is on the horizon. This is something we really like to do.
Oh, for sure. Well, I guess this whole, let's say, social media space, whatever you call it, it's like YouTube's with vlogs or edits. Like there's a lot of normal Joes like Bryson and I that create content, right? So there's a whole universe of creators that create kind of, let's say, amateur or semi-professional content, and you need to compete as a professional. You obviously need to compete against those.
Yeah.
But I mean, an interesting question. Obviously, you mentioned it, the cost side of things, right? The production cost, and certainly for video and obviously other content as well. How are you funding this whole magazine? I assume it's through advertising, or?
Yeah, so we've got two ways that we do two streams of income. One is, although it's free to subscribe, we do have a page where you can see you can sign up as a supporter of the magazine, and you can choose. I think it's from £2, £5, and a tenner a month. You can start and stop every time, and at any time. And one of the things that it also gives you as an extra bonus. So I mentioned that we do the prize draw every 2 months. Now, if you're a contributor of the magazine, we double, triple, or quadruple your name in the hat for the prize draw. So if you support us, the chance of you winning something is, it multiplies. So that is one side, just really a voluntarily based reader support. And then, of course, there's the brand advertisers that support us. Some of them are full page like advertisements. There's other brands that are not even interested in a classical advertisement. They just want, coverage in another way, or have their team riders mentioned and interviewed or stuff like that. So those are the two main income streams that we have at the moment, and it's working pretty well, I must say.
So IMB International, it's an international outfit. You guys, it being international, it implies you're covering many nations or many different places where you can ride mountain bikes. So the question that comes to mind is, how do you determine your identity, and how do you display that in the magazine? How does it come across? How do you make that come across?
Well, basically, the identity of the magazine, the term international is really just aiming at the English-speaking markets. And we try to get interesting topics and interviews with riders and places from all over the globe. So either it be Nico Vink, who is a Belgian based in technically his van. Nobody knows where he lives. Or or Sam Blenkinsop from New Zealand. Or so we really try to get that as an international crowd. And also when it comes to spot checks, we do have spot checks in Switzerland, but we also go to where do we have one? The Yukon, Revelstoke, different other parts of the world. So that's the main way where we try to keep things international. And as for the type of riding, I would say it's a more the person that reads IMB is more of a person who doesn't care too much about competition. He likes watching riders, like racers, and just to know what's going on behind the scenes, but is not necessarily a competitive cyclist himself. He just, pedals up to go down, and wants to have as much fun as possible, and likes to stay up to date on good kits and some smart tips and tricks on keeping the bike going and being well prepared for any adventure that comes on his path.
I think that's a great demographic to serve. Speaking of contributors, do you have people local in Switzerland who are repeatedly contributing to the magazine?
As I'm based in Switzerland, it mainly is me and two or three other people that we create the content with. We do have people in France, in Spain, in Canada, and in the US that contribute to the magazine. Again, this is a situation right now which is quite difficult because a lot of the people that create good media try to sell this to as many outlets as possible, and we really want to keep 100% unique content. So sometimes it is a bit of a struggle to get more content from different parts of the world, mainly because we're like, hey, we would love to run the story, but I don't want it to appear on 5 different outlets. So, but yeah, we do have numerous contributors spread out through the globe, and trying to help us create a cool mag.
That's excellent.
I guess in the reader statistics, I had a look on the website, of course. I flicked through a couple of your issues. You do mention that you have like a truly global readership, right? It's not like Ride magazine in Switzerland, which is, pretty much exclusively focused on Switzerland. You mentioned a number of, correct me if I'm wrong, what is it, 150 countries that you're being read from or read in. Yeah. So that is obviously talking to your, let's say, global setup.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the majority is English-speaking countries. So you got like 25% the USA or North America, and then another 25% UK, and then it starts breaking down to smaller percentages throughout Europe. But we also have readers in Brazil, Indonesia, you name it. Every country where you're like, is there mountain biking there? And we've got some readers there as well, so that's pretty cool.
Speaking again of creation, I've had my hand at a little bit of social media marketing and kind of content creation, putting it out there and trying to be fresh and stay kind of relevant and engaging with people, like trying to get them to, like and subscribe and things like this. But I found it very, very difficult. Like, I'm not a professional at it, but, I kind of tried to emulate what I saw. But it led me to the question to myself, and now I'm asking you because maybe you can give me a tip in case I end up doing it again. But how do you stay fresh with the content? How do you feel that your creativity comes out enough for people to like really engage and keep reading, basically?
I think the only thing that really speaks across any type of media is just be genuine. I genuinely love mountain biking, and the people that work at IMB love riding bikes. They would do whatever they were doing, even if they were not with IMB. So whatever we create, we we create from a genuine interest. If we create an article or a travel story, or to look at a piece of technology, we create this from a genuine point of trying to make people a better rider, or trying to make people enjoy riding more. So yeah, just being genuine in what you create. Just create stuff for yourself, and then there's a big chance a bunch of people like it.
Yeah, I guess people really latch on when they can find how they can relate to it, and they can say, okay, this is something I can dig into again and again. Really, it's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the more interesting aspects of your work that you've had over the last 2 years that you've been in the seat? What have been some of the highlights so far?
Well, of course, where we met, being able to enter the Transmadeira and call it work, it's like a ridiculous thing.
Ridiculous excuse.
Yeah, no, gotta go there, definitely. No, such hard work. So yeah, this is, of course, one of the nicer things of the job, just being able to enter in some really cool events. I did a Swiss Enduro series last year, also to cover it for the magazine. And the last 2 years have not been that big on press releases and press camps. I'm a bit mixed emotions regarding press camps. I know the budgets that are being spent on it, and it's great as an introduction for a product. But for really testing a product, I don't think it's the right place and time. It's usually what happens on a press camp. You get a bunch of free drinks and loads of food, and you get to ride the bike on a trail with a bunch of other people. No time for setup, no time for really tinkering and adjusting and doing just laps on the stopwatch or whatever. But yeah, they're always a good treat, and there's always the trade shows and stuff like that, which are great fun. The bike industry, if you've been in it long enough, you know so many people, and so you just go to a Eurobike or a Garda Bike Fest or a Sea Otter or something, and you just run into people like, hey dude, how you doing? Long time no see. How's the wife? How's the kids? You've been riding? My God, you got fat, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's the industry itself is just, there are very little people in the bike industry that don't like riding bikes. So whenever you meet anyone, there's always at least one connection that you have with them, and so that's something that makes the industry a really fun and interesting one to work with. Yeah, some of the other stuff of course, it is quite cool to have new products being released, and you're the first one to know. You get that email embargo. You're like, oh, what's that then? And you get all the pictures and all the specs and details of all the brand new, I don't know, the Santa Cruz or new brand being launched by BMC or Canada coming out with the new enduro machine. So you're right at the tip of all the news and all the details, and new forks being launched, and you sit there with the engineers and the product managers of Öhlins, and you can just shoot away any question you might have, and you get from the man who actually made the drawing to make the thing work, you get the answer. So I think that's pretty special. But yeah, in the end, any job is a job. So it looks super glamorous in talking about, I'm going to Madeira, but yeah, that's just an exception. Most of the time for the magazine, I'm just sat on this bouncy yoga ball instead of an office chair. Otherwise, my back gives in. So I'm working from home and then just typing away for 12 hours. So, but I gotta love that part.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess, as you say, right? So with the time, there comes also a certain routine, and I'm sure there's a certain cynicism about the certain products. And there's like, oh, yay, another Enduro fork. And let me guess, it's got bigger stanchions and it's got, wow, revised stamping. My gosh. So I guess it's kind of hard in those situations to keep the excitement high. But I have one interesting question, or like final question from my side on the IMB stuff. Is inspired by another podcast I just listened to on the way home. Is have there been what kind of were some of the surprises of products you reviewed or trips you've gone on where you had you had in your mind, you had this vision of, oh, this is going to be so amazing, this is going to feel so great, and then it turns out, no, it really wasn't. Is there any good examples that come to mind?
Well, like I said, it's been quite dry on press trips during the whole COVID situation. So I don't have anything to moan about regarding that. I'm trying to think. I mean, most products these days are so well built. It's very rare that it's not that you get like a test bike and you crack the frame on the third run or something like that.
Unless you're Paul Aston, of course.
Yeah, unless you're Paul Aston. But I know Paul quite well. He's a good guy, and I see the point that he's making. The thing is, almost nobody rides like Paul Aston, and if you do ride like Paul Aston, you're probably a racer, and then you got a mechanic. So the way he tests and judges bikes, I completely get it. He knows a lot of knowledge about setup, suspension, and on the longevity of some products. I truly think weight is being considered way too much in terms of in the catalog everybody shows the weight, but it's with shit tires that doesn't work. So I think we should just forget about weight. Most of the clients that buy or ride these bikes are slightly overweight anyway. Just stop eating cookies and then you'll save that kilo. or don't stop eating cookies.
Yeah.
And you were in one of the issue number, I think it was issue number 69, I did a whole calculation about how much 1.5 kilograms of bike weight makes a difference on a 10K climb on a similar gradient. There's a bunch of weight weaning roadie websites where you can make that calculation. And I believe it was under a minute. It was like 51 minutes of climbing on one bike, and if you saved 1.5 kilos, it was like 50 minutes and 20 seconds or something. It was just nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, not worth talking about.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I do think that some stuff should be built stronger, and with more durability in mind. Like 4 or 5 millimeter bolts. Why? Just go 6. Just make it last. 2 millimeter Allen key bolts, that should be banned.
Oh yes.
All the stuff that you round, like the T25 Torxies on your discs. I mean, it still beats center lock, but because in the end, the center locks sometimes do get loose, and who on hell brings a center lock tool in his backpack on a bike ride? So those kind of those are definitely some improvements that products can be made. And I think Paul's got a really good point in I think he did a video on the Norco on some very proprietary bolts and spec issues, which it goes exactly like he says. High-end bike is tested with high-end components. They sit in front of an Excel sheet. This bike needs to be $2,500. Okay, we'll spec this. And I'm sure that the current, situation in the bike industry is challenging enough. If you're there in charge of production, you can't get chainring A. Let's get chainring B. Yeah, let's go, because we've got 3,000 orders waiting to be shipped. But yeah, if you spend $4,000 on the bike, some stuff, like some spec errors like that should not happen. And also, I still see this a lot as well, because we're a global magazine. There's a lot of division still in countries. So, you deal with the Swiss distributor or the French distributor, or I think this is so really backward. All the bolts and proprietary parts just should be available straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the website, where you go click spares, model year, model number, boom, here's your exploded view drawings. Oh, you're missing bolt number 35273 and all the washers. We'll send you this bolt. We're not going to sell you a bolt kit and bearing kit for 200 francs or $200. No, just, but these kind of things, this is something I think there's going to be a brand at some point that's going to really jump into this, to build more. You see it already. You got like, well, the Nikolai is a famous brand for building rather agricultural machines, but they last.
Robust is the word.
Oh
Robust.
yeah, robust. Not that. No, but they're Werkzeug. They're from Germany, and they make their stuff to last. So I think this quite an interesting note to have. I think the bikes are not bad, but in terms of, I think also that the industry itself and also the media is looking so much at professional racing that they just have a complete blind side towards the weekend warrior that takes his bike out twice a week, and then on the Sunday he comes home too late. The kids are already like, "Dad, why are you late?" And doesn't have time to clean the bike, doesn't have time to do anything. And then the bike just sits there crying in the corner until it gets picked out again on the Wednesday night ride without any bolt check, without any lube or whatever. This type of usage is not going to fly with a ultra light, super lightweight, carbon everything wheel set that's full suspension for 9.3 kilos. That's but the whole market and the whole media and the whole marketing industry is really aiming towards people being shooter and
selling the dream, not selling product.
Yeah, exactly. So if any brand is listening out there, make the bike that doesn't die. Make the bike that you can abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're going to sell a bunch of them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's definitely a journey we are all on, especially if you've been around mountain bikes for some time. And I admit to being partially guilty as charged with the neglecting bikes after rides and then taking them out again. Maybe adding I'm a religious chain luber, so that I take care of. But apart from that, I'm not very good with with the maintenance, I must admit. Well, then I would like to change tack a little bit. We've talked about your move to Switzerland. We talked about your love for single trail paradise. We heard from the trail taxi, but we haven't really talked about it yet. So I kind of have a vision in my mind if I hear trail taxi, but can you fill in the blanks? What does it actually do?
Well, the trail taxi is basically a product that I've wished for myself. I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here because if somebody calls a trails taxi, then it's me who's going out for the moment. But basically, it's a service. It's an uplift service for people who don't necessarily need a guide. So there is a lot of riding. There's a lot of infrastructure in lifts, gondolas, and post bus and trains. But as biking is getting more popular, post bus gets booked, or you're late, you miss it, you miss the train. There's all kinds of inconveniences with this. And I wanted to offer something that you can just give a call and let it be a single run, 2 transfers during the day, or a whole day of different uplifts. Just cater for that. We got a van, got a cool bike rack, got a phone call coming in at Bryson. I got all the permit. Well, almost got all the permits because it's still Switzerland. You gotta do things officially. We'll be offering our our non-guided uplifts in the lower Valais area. Hopefully from next week on.
Oh, nice, sweet. And yeah, so Lower Valais region. So can you give us the highlight reel? What are kind of the destinations, the trail destinations that people may or may not know yet that they can explore with the trail taxi?
Well, of course, if you talk around Verbier area, the Col de Mille is of course a classic that everybody should do at least once a year. It's such a smashing ride, scenery wise, perfect balance from a climb mixed with pear pie at the Cabane de Mille, and a super long descent. So we do a transfer to that in the high season. There is a gondola running. But it's only from, I think, mid-July until mid-August, or it's just a very short season. So, and yeah, I've already done 3 Col de Milles this year, and you can still ride it in October, basically until snow falls. So that's a cool thing to do. Of course, you got the Col de Grand Saint Bernard's Pass. It's a super long transfer from Orsières, and you can get out at the hospice, cross into the Italian side, and then you can do 2 things. You can ask me to pick you up on the Italian side and bring you back to the border, and do like a sneaky run into Italy. Or you can just cruise past the lake and do the Col de Fenêtre, which is another classic. You exit the... basically, just across the border, there's a 200-meter vertical hike-a-bike, and then you have a super long descent. It lasts you the entire day through basically past La Foulie, and yeah, that would just be one big uplift, and yeah, a day of fun. What else? Oh, there's so much to do. Of course, you've got the Arpet, the village called Ravoire, just above Martigny. There's the Col de Planche and Col du Lin above Martigny, which that just by itself has got a day's worth riding in. And that's just around the Martigny area that I'm speaking of. Then, of course, you can also go towards Sierre and Sion, towards Crans-Montana. Ride Magazine has got a bunch of good suggestions, and
Single trail map.
Single Trail Map has got a whole bunch, and if there's something on that's not on my radar, I mean, I can provide tips and tricks for many of these days. But if there's something that's not on my radar, I'm impartial. I'll take you up. I don't care.
I mean, it's funny that, as you talk through all those different areas and, the highlights and all that. So it's kind of because Bryson and I, we went on a little training camp to Finale a couple of months ago, actually now. And because I picked up Bryson in Bern and then we drove to Finale, we actually drove over the Great Saint Bernard and then came through those regions. And no joke, we were both staring out the window and looking at the mountains, and was like, dang, this looks sick. We have to go right here one day. So I guess we'll be clearing a calendar and booking the trail taxi.
Yeah, for sure, man. More than welcome. I'll provide you with snacks and tips for along the way. And so basically that's the game for the trail taxi. Quite excited about it. I think it will set off. There's a few. I mean, if you look at all the local guides, there's a couple that just mainly do all the bike park stuff or lifts, like by Verbier lift related. Then there's I think 2 or 3 that offer uplifted days. But that's like a full day of riding uplifts with a guide that sets you back 100 and 120 francs. And yeah, it's, no matter where you turn it, it's a lot of money for a day. I mean, it's value for money because, you don't need to think. You just follow the guy and then you smash out 5,000 meters vertical. But, we're aiming more towards the 65, 70 Swiss franc for a day. Then you get 4 or 5 runs in, depending on, if you know the way, then, we keep on going. And that way, we want to make trail riding a bit more accessible as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think yes, obviously we talk about Finale a lot, but I mean half of the riding, or let's say half of the riders that ride Finale, they use a shuttle service of some sort and are not pedaling up to native base. And I mean, those, you can do, depending on how quick you want to go, you can do 3, 4, 5 laps a day. They've obviously gone up now a little bit, but I mean, they're still like, what is it, 10, 12 euros one uplift, right? So, and then so that gets you roughly to what you have in mind. So, I mean, I think that's a very, very fair and a very value proposition.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great that we're going to drive people to the trails and to have fun, but I think the greater picture that I want with this company is that it needs to be sustainable for the people working there. I want to be able to do. My ideal thing for the trail taxi is to have several of them spread out. People enjoying what they do, earning a fair wage. That's especially around these areas here. It's a tricky one. There's lots of seasonal jobs that are challenging to say the least. And I'd like to be a person that kind of breaks that barrier, and shows people that it is possible to offer a normal living wage for people. And also when it comes to, I mean, driving people up to the top of the hill on a diesel-powered van is not the most ecological way to be around as a company. But we do have an application running right now for 1% for the planet. So we really want to make sure that at least 1% of our turnover, not our profit, our turnover gets back into reputable charities. And I've spent quite some time looking into carbon offsetting of the emissions. It's kind of like, still eating the cookies and cake while you're on a diet and paying some money into a fund. It's not what the ultimate, but it's better than nothing. So if any of your readers actually have a good tip on a reputable carbon offsetting program in Switzerland, either be it tree planting or something like that, just hit me up in the DM. And another side of the things that I've been trying to get rolling as well is in the Netherlands, I know of a company that makes renewable diesel. So they take recycled diesel oils or oils, vegetable oils, and basically from McDonald's and big restaurants, mix it in with 10% of biofuels, and then basically create a biofuel with a lot less carbon impact than the regular fossil fuels. Now, the trick with this is that it is not available in Switzerland, and you think that life can be complicated when you start looking into importing fuels into Switzerland.
I can imagine.
At some point, I was like, "Oh, just get a truck, find a border, wait till 4 a.m. and just like smash it past and just get the thing sorted," But that's not the way to go. I've been speaking to representatives of the company, and they think within the next 2 years it will be available in Switzerland. Because the cool thing is, it's also better for your engine. And when you burn it, when you burn regular diesel, it has this black soot coming out of it, and this doesn't have this at all. So that's another project that I'd like to integrate with the trail taxi, but rules and regulations are kind of keeping me away from that one at the moment.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a plan and a roadmap for the project to work. So stoked to be sharing this. Bryson?
I think it's very admirable that you're taking an ecological stance on the company that you want to design and build. And for sure, your greater picture is where it feels good to be. And I think, taking the first steps are definitely going to lead you to that. So, kudos to you on that.
We'll see where it ends. We'll do a follow-up in 2 years from now and see see if this boat sailed or failed.
Well, fail fast, as they say these days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then maybe, to start wrapping up a little bit, we've talked about, your work with the bike mag. We talked about the trail taxi, but we still haven't quite figured out why you're in Switzerland at all. So how did you get here?
Well, this is I told you, when growing up in the Netherlands, I was into bikes all my life. When I was in my teenage years, there's a couple of escapes that you can explore. One is booze and partying, but I chose to spend solitary time in the forest riding your bike route. Um, and yeah, after doing that for a whole bunch of years, I kind of realized that I don't want to live in Holland. It's a great place. You got great atmosphere, good restaurants, terraces. You can cycle commute anywhere. Even in summer, the weather is actually quite good, and the rest of the year is crap. But so I was already quite set on not living in Holland for the rest of my life. How I ended up in Switzerland is quite a funny one, actually. I took a big detour. In my early 20s, I did 2 or 3 seasons of mountain bike guiding, actually just across from here, right next to Seal. And yeah, I was showing people around in the region. I was like, oh, it's pretty good. And that kind of inspired me to move to Austria and move to the Geneva side of Switzerland. And yeah, at a certain point, Austria was great, but it was very rural. There was everybody moved away to the bigger cities, and I loved it there because there was great bike riding, big lake. I was in Klagenfurt, right next to the Wörthersee. Then I got a job offer from Kona Bikes. I knew Russ, who was then the marketing guy from Kona, and they're like, "Oh, we need a multilingual guy to speak all the languages in the service department." So after being around that area for a while, I of course visited the Valais again, visited Annecy, Chamonix, and at some point, me and Kona parted ways, and I was like, right, I don't need to be around Geneva anymore. Where do I go? I started looking for places to live in all corners that I liked, but I found an apartment first in Chamonix in France. So fate brought me to Chamonix.
Terrible place.
It's I think from all the mountain towns, for the atmosphere, it's fantastic. It's a year-round town. There's something. Verbier here is great. But if you go in what we call interseason, like early spring or like late spring, and then in autumn, half the restaurants are closed. It's like a ghost town. There's nothing going on, which is also kind of good because I don't like crowds too much. But up in Chamonix, it is like a year-round destination. There is always a bit of life going on. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed a good 5-6 years of living there. And at the time, while I was living there, I got asked to do the marketing job for Cube, which was then UK/Netherlands based. But I was clinging on for dear life to the mountain life, so I kept my apartment. And I basically, whenever I could work from home, I would be in the Alps working from home, and then slam the laptop at 5 and go for a lap on Merlet or around Les Ouches. For Cube, I was mainly doing all the events, trade shows, staff training, dealer trainings. And with COVID happening, of course, that pulled the plug on all the events. So, that was like, okay, we're not doing this. And because it was so uncertain what was going on, they didn't I kept working with them for a while, but after that, I was like, well, we kind of need you to be in the office in Holland. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. I can do a part-time mountain and part-time like life in the flat countries, um, but not full-time. So I said, well, sorry, we part ways. And actually, before that, me and my wife were looking on visiting Canada, with possible intent of maybe staying. Canada, of course, being completely locked and blocked and impossible to get into. We just sat around the table and cracked open a drink, and they're like, right, well, time for shaping Plan B. What is that? What looks like Canada, feels like Canada, is central within Europe. And I was like, I'm stupid. I was there like 20 years ago. The Swiss Valais, it's got it's only 1 hour from where we used to live. So all of our friends and people that we know in the area are still quite reachable. Social life is a bit important as well with this. And when you start looking into the Valais, it's got so many sunny days. It's got 4,000 meter peaks. So if you want to do some mountaineering, snowboarding, any type of summer, winter adventuring, there's plenty of choice. I call it Swissneyland. Actually, it's like Disneyland with Swissneyland.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Yeah, but also from a winter riding perspective. Say you are here and you want to go ride. Now, Verbier itself is 1,500 meters, and there's quite a bunch of snow. But around Martigny, that's only 400. And the Rhone Valley over there is a distinct east-west valley, which means the mountainside is super south facing, which basically enables you to do all the lower trails all along the line of, from Martigny towards Sion. So even in winter, there's plenty of bike riding. And if it's really, really terrible and you really want to go out on your bike, what is it? 4 hours, 3.5? You're in Finale. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so many options. And like I said, the riding here is unreal. I've been coming here for so many years, and there's still so many lines on the map that need to be explored and ridden. So many trails to hike down that looked great but aren't.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure there's plenty of those.
At least once a year. I had one last year, and it looked so fantastic. I was like, oh man, and I knew the trail that forked off to the right, and we went into the left, and I was like, right, this is going to be great. It's going to be shit. Don't blame me. I warned you to the guy who was with me. And the first section was absolutely smashing. It was super flowy. And then at some point, it got really narrow. And on the left hand, there was a massive exposure, like, 1,000 meter, like 800. It's like really big. We just ride past it, go like, okay. So this is why, this was not. No, this is that's why the signs.
Why this is not
there.
on the single trail map.
Yeah. So as we progressed, of course, it got blockier and blockier up until a point where it was just like 500-600 meters of vertical of reverse mountaineering, holding your bike and ropes, chains, and then riding 20 meters, going like, oh yeah. Oh crap, no. But I kind of like that. That's, for me, that's also a little bit of the magic of biking. Not just ripping lines in a bike park and just doing laps, but the exploration side. Because I know, especially when I'm there, I'm like, first you got this situation. It's like, is this going to be the next new best trail ever, or not? And then also when you're finding out that it's actually not, it's pretty unique, because you're never ever going to go back to that place on the earth again in your life. You're there now and you will never return. So that kind of gives me a bit more of an enjoyment of that, just really taking the views, because you're not coming back here.
Well, that's a good positive mindset to tackle trail exploration.
Well, if you got 600 meters of vertical to hike down with the bike on one hand and a cliff on the other, you gotta cheer yourself up a bit.
Exactly. You got to have a glass half full kind of mindset rather than the other way around.
Yeah, especially if you're with another person that not necessarily is into that. If you start being a thundercloud, then yeah, it's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
be
Charlie Brown vibes, that's for sure.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, basically that's the story of Switzerland, how I got here, and yeah, I haven't regretted it since. It's a fantastic place to be. Really having a great time.
Well, sounds like it. Of course, you've ridden, a whole bunch of exotic destinations. You live in a fantastic location to be riding all year. You have your business that looks to share this fantastic riding with a lot of people. But through all your work and your travel and all the experiences that you've had over the years, are there any blank spots left that you really still want to explore?
Of course, the list is long. Um, well, I haven't really ridden the Pyrenees properly, or Ainsa in that corner. I've been following Doug from Basque MTB for many, many years now, and his pictures are always very impressive. But I'd also like to venture out a little bit more, even more to the crazy unknown, like places like Georgia or Macedonia or Nepal, of course, is high on the list. Um, so yeah, I mean the list is endless. I've seen some people writing stuff in Turkey, which is absolutely unbelievable. And Kilian Bron is also like a guy to follow if you're into crazy destinations.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, the list is still there, and the worst thing is every time you go to a good place, it adds to the to do list of that year. So yeah, right now I've just visited Madeira. That was a fantastic experience, and I'm already like, well, how am I going to make sure that I can get back there at least next year? But yeah, so yeah, the list is long.
All right. Well, we start getting towards of our time tonight, so we don't want to overextend our stay in the Valais region virtually at this stage. So we want to wrap it up with our now infamous closeout questions. So our first one that we ask most if not all of our guests is always, can you tell us a little bit more about that first bike that really got you stoked on riding?
Well, I think the very first bike that got me really excited was I think it was a rally BMX. I'm not sure if it was a rally or not, but it was a BMX bike, and it had red tires, and it had a chrome frame, and those handlebar protectors and top tube protectors were all red and shiny, um, and it had like a handbrake instead of a back pedal brake, so it had like a proper free hub where you got. So I remember I got that for my birthday, I think when I was 4 or 5. I think it was 4. And yeah, that was me riding around the neighborhood, pulling skids and trying to jump stuff and getting in trouble. And so yeah, that's the one that really got me hooked on anything two wheeled, really.
Nice. Okay, I guess we can feel that one. I think BMX is something that comes back time and time again. Our second one. Imagine you're Harry Skidini and you are a bike magician extraordinaire. You can make riding a bike more awesome for anyone by the stroke of a magic dropper post. What would you do?
I think if with the stroke of a magic dropper post would be an option, I would give everybody perfect form and perfect core muscles on the bike. I think if you have a good body position and enough muscle to kind of hold your posture, then riding will automatically become a lot more fun. Of course, mindset, make everybody super positive all the time is bit of a lame answer in this question. So I'm going to go for perfect form, perfect posture, and the muscles to back it up.
Yeah, core stability is a huge benefit. So question 3, you probably were unaware, but you definitely had it in you back then, riding your BMX around, skidding around some corners. But if you were to think back as yourself back then, and you were to pull off that perfect skid, what would it look like?
Well, I think with a good, amazing skid, it's all about distance. So really just put that weight all on the front, on your handlebars, and just go the distance. Just keep on going, keep on sliding. And, if you're doing it for yourself, just have a smile on your face. But if there is a crowd, just give him like a little side look, just glance at them like, yeah, this is me pulling a long skid. And then not eating shit at the end. That would be best. I think that would be the most amazing skid ever.
Very good. Very good. We can we approve of that one.
Cool.
All right. Well, Jarno, thank you very much for your time. This was really interesting, really cool. If our listeners have questions, they want to learn more about the IMB, they want to learn more about the trail taxi, where can they find you?
I think the best way to reach me would be, I think, just go for the trail taxi. Instagram at trailtaxi.ch. That should get you there. I think there's only one trail taxi. That should be easy to find. And regarding IMB, I think the best way is just to subscribe to the magazine. You will get updates every 2 months, and you can find the contact details there. So that will be it.
All right, sweet. We'll put those up in the show notes so people can find it there as well.
Cool.
Jarno, again, thank you very much. Bryson, thank you. Great time, as always.
Great to have you on, Jarno.
And with that, we close it out for the night.
Great meeting you guys. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As we mentioned at the top of the show, you can find all the links and the relevant info to this episode in the show notes. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, why don't you share it with your riding buddies? It really helps us grow our show and reach more cool people like you.
That's great advice, Pascal. I really enjoyed making the episode as well. And I'm really looking forward to all the cool stuff we're going to be doing in 2022. So stay tuned, guys.